Hello everyone, this is Marcel. Welcome to my channel. So for today I'm going to be discussing the concept of pickup artistry. Now just to be clear, I don't actually have anything against pickup artists, though naturally I don't recommend it and I'll get to why in a minute. I'm not going to be giving away any of their secrets or give anyone tools to combat against them. This video is basically just me giving my perspective on what they do and sort of a MGTOW viewpoint on it. See, for a period of time in my life, I actually read a lot of the books, the articles, and even performed a number of the tactics, with some varying degree of success. If anyone is wondering or doesn't already know, a pickup artist is someone who essentially masters the art of speaking to women, well, typically women anyway, to the ends of either establishing a relationship or just simply getting them in bed. They are globally despised by feminists, despite that the actions and behaviors that they do are almost in some ways similar to female behaviors towards men, only from the guy's perspective. To be honest, I always kind of thought of it as just evening the playing field. So what is it that they do exactly? What does a guy get from all of the work and research invested into that field? In essence, and if any of you got a different experience through this, please tell me down below. I want to hear it. This was just my interpretation. Study into pickup artistry gives a guy a certain set of tools, teaches him how to use them, and more importantly, when to use them when interacting with women. You wouldn't use a soldering iron to fix a flat tire, and you certainly wouldn't use a hammer to fix a broken computer. Knowing who you're dealing with and how to speak to them can mean the difference between going out on a date or getting crushed and set aside. Worse yet, even friend-zoned. A number of guys who get into that field are looking for reasons as to why they can't get dates, why they can't find good women or stay with women, and a huge percentage of the time it's really just their approach. Either they lack confidence and don't know how to speak to women properly, or they say the wrong thing at the wrong time. Now that's just a surface level description. There are much deeper concepts at work in the higher levels of PUAs. That's the equivalent of just seeing the tip of the iceberg. Some of it is almost borderline hypnosis. It gets really interesting to study. Let me give kind of a reverse example though before anybody starts to think of them as predators. When a woman is talking to a guy and she's interested in him, have you ever noticed where she'll reach up and she'll touch her neck or put her hand up towards her breast as she emphasizes what she says, but as she draws her hand away, it brings his attention, his view, down to her breasts? That kind of behavior from a woman, be it subliminal or intentional, is her adjusting the focus of the conversation to a more sexual nature. Before the guy even realizes it, he's staring at her breasts, drooling, and agreeing with basically everything she says. Men have their own version of the same abilities when it comes to interacting with women, they just don't recognize it in today's society. There's a number of possible reasons why. It could just be that our culture demasculinizes men and basically takes away anything that gives them power over women. It could be more subtle that men are just not raised to recognize they have those abilities anymore. Perhaps the average alpha male is able to naturally, and those books are just compilations of what they do. All valid answers. From almost everything I read, I got the impression that it was having kind of a lock and key approach to dealing with women. That basically every woman can be unlocked with a formula, a particular shape and type of guy. And if the man that's interacting with her fits that description, behaves that way, he could get in her good graces regardless of any other circumstances. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but it seems to be the philosophy that they have. It doesn't matter who she is or what she's doing. If the guy says the right thing in the right way, he can pick her up. So if it's mostly about giving guys these tools that they can use to interact, then why wouldn't I recommend it? What's the big issue? Let's do a comparison. Well, going back into my history, I've had a number of different jobs, and one of them required me to learn a lot about explosives. Had to do with recognizing improvised explosive devices, kind of a military thing if you hadn't guessed that already. So I already had some experience in the field, but one day I came across a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook. And I started looking through it, and before anybody goes Google searching it, recognize that it's probably illegal to own that, and even simply searching it is probably going to put you on a list. So don't do anything illegal. Disclaimer. Okay, assuming everybody's back now from searching, one thing I did notice in it is that it said nothing about greasing the threads to prevent static discharge in the copy of the book that I'd come across. Now, someone without professional training may have no clue what that's talking about, and that's what makes books like that so extremely dangerous, is they leave out key components that are critical, especially if somebody's doing something reckless and stupid. They wind up blowing themselves up. Here's a conspiracy for you. What if the government allows flawed books like that to circulate, knowing that problem people or potential problem people will eliminate themselves without any effort on the government's side? Sort of a self-correcting issue. What does that do with the people, though, that don't have any ill intentions? Hell, back when I was working in a hardware store, I had a little old lady come in that was trying to make an adhesive to glue some stuff together. And she goes telling me off this recipe that she's making her own homemade glue. She was making napalm. It was the exact recipe, letter for letter. Even little details that the average person shouldn't know. She probably stumbled across it by accident. In this modern technological world, there is so much knowledge, so much information available at people's fingertips that they don't have to take the time to dig for it or to work up their knowledge in any particular field. They can just dive right in. Half the time they get some really powerful stuff and have no background to recognize what it is that they have in their hand. You want to know something that I didn't read in basically any or most of the books that I went into? How to get out of false rape accusations. None of that was in there. Hardly ever heard it. Maybe it was just the copies that I got. I don't know. But I can't guarantee that a guy that just picks up some random book off a shelf or talks to some random guru is going to get the critical stuff that they need to actually understand the power of what they're dealing with. So you have this guy who's never had significant relationships or has a hard time with them, has very little real life experience dealing with women, and you give him this tool that's going to guarantee any woman he talks to, this certain type of woman, will spread her legs for him. How is that giving him the ability to handle that situation when it actually happens? It's putting a flamethrower in the hands of a person who doesn't even know how to shoot a gun, then sending them out into a field hunting for rabbits. They're going to burn alive. See, there is at least a component of PUA culture that is driven by getting guys that confidence that they need to talk to women. But it's not going to promote the dangers and the risks involved with doing so, because that would deter guys from doing it. All of these seminars and classes, they charge for those. They're expensive. They're not going to scare away their customers. These guys wouldn't want to be PUAs if they realized it could blow up in their face. Now, let's say that I'm being dramatic, that it's not that bad. You know, these guys are just going to get with these women and there are not going to be any issues past that point. Realistically, it does not change the nature of women. It has nothing to do with that. Women are still going to be women. If she wants, in her case, to take his money, to take half his stuff, to baby trap him, she's going to do that, and it's not going to matter how suave or how slick, how well he talks or dresses. That doesn't mean shit. She is still going to eat him alive. If all a guy wants to do is get in the door, that is exactly what all of that knowledge is for. It's going to open up the door. Beyond that, he's on his own. It's not going to do anything for him, or very little anyway. So, as something of a summary, I can't recommend it only because it doesn't inform people of the dangers involved. By its own nature, it couldn't. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as popular as it is. Even the most effective PUA is arguably a male chameleon. I think it was Sandman I heard say that. Eventually, whatever facade, whatever environment, behavioral traits, whatever personality he has set up to convince that woman to be with him does not directly represent who he is. There's got to at least have been some kind of change from his original real personality for any of that whole training, all of that to have worked in the first place. He had to change something about himself. unless he genuinely just didn't know how to talk. Some point later on down the road, that behavior's gonna break down. It always does. This is why women have the same problem, year or two down the road. Maybe less, they start showing their true selves. I can already hear people telling me, Marcel, they're just wanting to get laid. They're not wanting to be in a relationship. To that I say, when a guy is gambling, no matter how well he can read cards, eventually the house always wins. There's gonna be a woman out there eventually that's gonna nail him. Pickup lines don't work on judges and prosecutors. At least not in my county. If anybody listening is or does decide to do pickup artistry, just be smart about it. I can think of a number of times where I have dodged a bullet metaphorically by a woman telling me no. It was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And it was a matter of weeks, months later, I realized how lucky I actually was that she did say no to me. Anyway, I hope that was interesting. Let me know down below if you agree, disagree, if you think I'm full of shit. I want to hear it. If you want to hear more of my content, like, subscribe, share, and until next time, this has been Marcel.